Hi, I'm Terry McCall, mountain bike editor at Canadian Cycling Magazine and Canadian MTB. We're here with the Trek Slash. This is the 6th generation Slash, and this is the 9.9 T-Type model. So the Slash has been in Trek's line for a long time, but it's never looked anything like this. For this 6th generation, Trek moves the Slash to a high pivot design. That means different suspension layout, more pulleys, and hopefully more performance. So this may not look like the Slash of years past, and it definitely feels different on the trails, but the idea is the same. This is a big bike that will help you have a good time on the hardest trails you want to ride, or shave time off your next race run. It uses a high pivot suspension design. More and more brands are using this layout for the benefits that it gives you on the trails. That includes better performance on square edge hits, really smoothing out really rough trails, better performance while braking, and less pedal kickback. But to do that, you have to add the idler pulley at the top, and Trek's also added one below. To not lose too much drivetrain efficiency, Trek uses a big 19-tooth upper pulley wheel that's on the larger end of the spectrum compared to other brands. And then they've worked with MRP to create a custom lower guide that works well with SRAM's new flat top T-type chains. So if you've been looking at this bike online at all, you've probably heard that they had some initial problems with dropping the chain. Trek did send us an email about that, and it was apparently something to do with how the chain guide was installed and how the pulley wheels were sitting. Ours happened to be installed correctly, and it sounds like some others weren't, but we haven't had any problems yet, so we can't report too much on that. And that's in about 4 or 5 months of riding this bike. Trek spent a lot of time tuning this high pivot suspension design so that it has a really high anti-squat curve. That means that while this is a big bike, it still pedals quite efficiently, especially giving you all kinds of grip going up technical trails like over rocks and roots. This thing is just glued to the ground without feeling like there's 2 extra pulley wheels that you're pedaling through. It is quieter than most high pivot suspension bikes, but if you don't keep your chain perfectly clean all the time, you will still hear some added noise, but it's pretty quiet compared to everything else that is happening on the bike. So the other big change for the 6th generation of Slash is Trek has moved to a mullet setup for the wheels. That's a 27.5-inch rear wheel with a 29-inch front wheel. There is the option to run matching 29-inch wheels if you switch out to a different shock mount. But stock, all Slashes are coming with this mixed wheel setup. The benefit of this mixed wheel design is that it keeps what is a very big bike feeling quick and agile on the trails. It really helps you get around tight corners quicker. You may not carry as much speed on the straightaways, but this bike isn't entirely about speed. It's also about fun. The little wheel out back also helps you move it around anytime you're not on the ground and just kind of enjoy the ride. Trek's usual Mino link is not on this bike, but you can still switch between 2 suspension progression settings. One's more progressive for smoother, faster trails when you're like taking this around the bike park, and one is less progressive if you're doing really rough technical trails and you really want a buttery, smooth feeling suspension. Geometry-wise, the Slash is slack at 63.5 degrees at the head tube angle, but not as stretched out as some pure enduro race bikes, which are where you usually see this high pivot suspension design. That also helps keep the Slash kind of fun and playful on the trail, instead of just really long and purely focused on speed. Other frame details include Trek's in-frame storage compartments, a chain silencing rubber guard on the chainstays that mostly works, except in the bottom couple gears. There's now size-specific chainstays as well, and Trek has added an integrated carbon armor on the down tube that's in the frame, so you'll see less external protection on this frame, but they say there is another layer that's hiding under the paint. Spec-wise, the 9.9 XX comes with SRAM's XX transmission. It comes with SRAM Code Ultimate brakes with 4 pistons and RockShox Zeb Ultimate fork. There's also a RockShox Reverb wireless dropper seat post. Unfortunately on the XL that means it's limited to 170 millimeters travel, which is probably fine for most sizes, but not really keeping up at the top end. There's also Bontrager's RSL integrated carbon fiber bar stem at a massive 820 millimeters wide, and Bontrager Line Pro 30 carbon fiber wheels. It's kind of the top end build, but Trek offers a full range including aluminum frame slashes in this new 6th generation. On the trail, the slash is not exactly what I was expecting from a high pivot bike. From riding a bunch of others, they're very race focused, they're focused on speed, they're glued to the ground, and they just want to go in a straight line as fast as possible. With a few of the changes that Trek has made to the platform, this bike is still pretty fun. Like, it's still playful like the Slash before, but it is a good 7 or 8 pounds heavier with all the added complication. That changes how you're riding it a bit, but it is still like a fun bike, not just a race bike. With the high pivot suspension design though, you get the benefit of anytime you touch back down on the ground or anytime your wheels are on the ground, you have as much traction as you want in pretty much any scenario. That makes the Slash a pretty interesting bike. It's a big departure for Trek, it's something different, and it comes with different benefits as well as a couple drawbacks, but it's a really interesting bike, especially if you're looking to ride pretty much anything, maybe not at race pace all the time, but just want to have fun.